What's up everybody? Welcome back to the episode of Outlawed Motors. Today I am showing you how to get your old Mini's exhaust out, prepping the underside and getting it all ready for a brand spanking new performance exhaust. Now, this was my first time removing an exhaust system, and in hindsight, it is a lot easier looking back and editing the video for this one. But I figured for those of you who have done it many times, you can laugh at my pain. For those of you who haven't done it, you can learn from my pain. See what we're doing here? We're exchanging ideas. We're all a community. That's what we're doing. So obviously with the brand new fully forged engine going in, I couldn't leave the stock exhaust in. It had to go because Car Graphics sent me a badass Valvetronic exhaust system, which I'll show you guys in a future video. But for now, I had to just focus on getting the exhaust out. What I didn't realize was the exhaust comes out with 4 bushings. All you have to do is grease them and yeah, just kind of use some brute force and get them out. Well, I broke stuff, of course. The predicament I'm in right now is that I need a jacking point in the rear. I mean, I don't need one, but it definitely makes this job harder. You may have noticed the engine is out, so I don't have front wheels. I need to find a point that I can actually jack the rear up, or maybe I can just fit under here and it'll be really cramped. I hate going under cars. You can already see this is actually not an even system. There's a flat area here before this resonator, and then there's so much restriction. Air tools will be your friend. With the front brackets removed, I turned my attention to the back of the exhaust, which had its own surprises in store for me. This is the worst possible place to be in with this car. I didn't know exactly how to remove the exhaust and removed the bolts that held the bushings for the exhaust instead of just removing the exhaust from the bushings, which led to bad news. I'm trying to figure out what the best way to do this is. Don't be an idiot like me. Don't use the 4 bolts that are mounting the rubber bushings that hold the back of the exhaust. I don't know what they're mounted to, but pretty much it seized, and once I tried to put it back in, that's what happened. So don't do that. So just takes a little penetrating lube and a screwdriver with some convincing. Well, look how small it is. Time to store it temporarily. Getting the exhaust out was only really half the battle. The other major issue that I had was my exhaust heat shields had kind of deteriorated over age and wear and all that stuff. Pretty much any of the mounting points had kind of just dissolved out. They didn't rust because they are aluminum, but they were just not in good shape anymore. And the easy solution would have been just to go out and buy new ones. And for some of you, that might have been the right choice. But if you've ever paid BMW prices, they ain't cheap. So what I figured was I would try to explore some aftermarket options, and what I found was that Heat Shield products had a really good solution with this sticky shield setup that has an adhesive backing, and I can just line the exhaust tunnel with that, which I really liked because it also had an additional feature of having a sound deadening material in it, which was for me a little added plus. Now with the sticky shield, I highly recommend taking a template of what you think you'll need. Take some cardboard or some newspaper, traced it out, and then used that to cut out the sticky shield. This stuff is super adhesive. Once it sticks, it is very hard to get off. Once you have your template, cut it out of the sticky shield, and then work your way from one side to the other, peeling the adhesive backing off as you go. Don't take off the whole backing and then stick it on, because that stuff is not going to adhere properly. Now, you may need to make incisions in certain areas to get around awkward angles or creases, and then afterwards make sure that you're using the supplied aluminum heat shield tape to seal off the sides. The stuff is super durable and shouldn't come off, but that aluminum tape does a great job at sealing everything off. Just make sure you take the proper steps and clean off the surface areas with an acetone or isopropyl alcohol to make sure you get proper adhesion. Don't make the mistake that I did and not do that and then have the aluminum tape coming off and then having to do that part all over again.
Given the shifter cables were originally shielded by the stock heat shield, I wanted to make sure that they weren't affected by the exhaust heat, and decided to run heat sleeves on the cables as well, just for a good measure.
So the guys at Heat Shield Products sent me their HP Sticky Shield stuff. The only problem is that with these chassis components, there's nowhere where I can properly fit their heat shield or mount it to stick it to the actual frame. So you kind of need an OEM heat shield here, because the gas tank is right here, and then the heat shield runs under the gas tank and then mounts up here. The heat shield comes around so that it protects any plastic bits out in these areas, including these bushings in here. So the poly bushings should take a good amount of heat, but I really don't want to find that out. And the heat shield in the back wasn't really that destroyed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to wrap the heat shields with the HP Sticky Shield so that they have an extra layer of protection, and that actually ends up mending the areas of the old heat shield that had holes in it. So it almost acts like a soundproofing barrier as well, and doubles in terms of its heat protectiveness.
Unfortunately, as luck would have it, I broke one of the mounting screws for the OEM heat shields and needed to address that first.
So what I'm going to do to solve my heat shield mounting point issue is I'm going to cut off the rest of the screw. It's not enough to catch, unfortunately, and then afterwards I'm going to sand it off so that I can get a nice area to drill a hole so that I can actually mount my washer and screw on both sides, and then use this JB Weld stuff to seal it off. I think it's actually not a bad idea, but I could get into it and then realize something that I'm completely missing. But that's the whole point. I'm gonna learn.
Just a wee little bigger. This is actually less invasive than I expected it to be.
Cure time to full cure, 3 days. Functional cure, 8 hours. Well, we're not stress testing this in any way, so. It's gonna act as a seal as well. I have a brand new mounting point. Probably just use some epoxy on that side.
See, the trick is I don't want to put too much. You don't want to spread the threads. So I'm just going to use that to, I mean, that should be pretty well bonded.
Okay, so that's solved. Time to put the gas tank in.
Before I put the gas tank in, it was a good time to replace the old aging gaskets with new ones supplied by HP Shield. Before I applied them, I just made sure I degreased the tank so that they would adhere properly. I also noticed some pitting in the gas tank. I'm not sure if this was from corrosion, but I decided to clean it up and reinforce it with plastic epoxy.
Hey, that's fun. This was much easier getting out. I have to run these lines. This is fun. Try to remember where things go. If it's not obvious, don't work on cars.
The lesson of this entire show.
Don't work on cars? Yeah. I'm just really glad that this gas tank was nearly empty before I did all this shit. I guess connect your gas lines first. This is why you practice the bench press. Also, if you're claustrophobic, you should probably never work on cars.
With a gas tank in, it was finally time to put the rest of the heat shields in.
I don't want to be under this car anymore. All I'm doing is removing any potential grease before I fix those holes. Congratulations, Alex, you did something right. Look at that. Actually hold it in place. Finish up the heat shield, then we can mount the exhaust. Not bad. It's starting to look like a car. And there you have it. That's how you overcomplicate removing an exhaust system, but also do a badass job of prepping the underside to reduce heat, reduce noise, and increase fitment to allow for more exhaust awesomeness. On the next episode, I'm going to be showing you the car graphic exhaust system, which is awesome. It's got a whole Valvetronic setup, so you can go either straight pipe or go, ultra stealth mode. It's really cool. Till next time, have a good one. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, all those things. See you later.